So I've been practicing gratitude for 10 years.
Right. So the question
Every single
comes,
morning I wake up, Dr. Imran. Nearly every 6 out of 7 mornings, my first thought is I'm so grateful.
Absolutely.
And I'll start thinking, I'm grateful for my new apartment, I'm grateful for the sun outside, I'm grateful for this beautiful person that's in bed next to me. And gratitude just shows up during my day.
Yes, absolutely.
So even in our conversation before, I was thinking, I'm grateful I'm having an intelligent conversation with someone just doesn't want to argue their view without listening. Right, so gratitude, mindfulness, meditation is in my life every single day.
It goes back to your beginning point of you feel free. I think I heard you say that I have this great sense of freedom. And even then I was thinking, well, where do you get this sense of freedom from? And it comes down to I can choose to have my coffee or not. And essentially what you're describing is I can follow my desires. Even our perception of freedom in reality is that we are shackled to all those masters. Because we care about what people think, we care about what we say, how people perceive us, okay? And so what Allah says is, don't shackle you to the opinions of these people, telling you what's right and wrong, what's lawful and unlawful, what's just and unjust, what's fair and unfair, what is good and bad. Shackle yourself to me, because I created you and I know you better than all of those people know you. And I will guide you to the truth better than all of those people will guide you.
I like the idea of where you spoke about Allah will judge you by your intent.
Yeah.
Not so much by actually what happens, the outcome, but your intent behind it. So I feel encouraged to share my intent as someone that's curious about Islam. Very, very curious. And as a Westerner, there's so much fear that's laid upon Islam, just layers and layers of fear, right? And that's natural, and I've got to dissolve that fear. So I come here with the intent to understand and nothing more, not to poke.
Brother, I want to see your video with Hamza.
Yeah.
And I said, if this brother ever comes to speak, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Abbas, was it?
Abbas, yeah.
Ben.
So this meeting is something that I already desired.
Okay.
Right, because I saw you as a very open-minded, intelligent individual, and if I'm honest, I love to engage with people like that because it's a more meaningful discussion.
I agree.
So you don't have to explain to me that you're coming from a good place. I already believe that about you.
Nice.
So now, what's your question?
Maybe it manifested me.
So what's your question?
I've got many questions, but one of them for me is I feel genuinely free. Yeah, and I get the feeling that people in Islam aren't free. Right, you're confined by the bounds of the Quran. You're confined by a fear and a love of your Creator.
Yes.
And you're confined by people in Islam, they call themselves Muslims, that take the religion that you love so dearly to the extremes. So you have so much that confines you and restricts your freedom in Islam. Why would you choose to be restricted?
Allah explains this very beautifully. If you can find the ayah for me in the Quran about they shackle themselves, they enslave themselves to many masters. If you can get the ayah up for me. Allah explains this phenomena in the Quran. And Allah explains the analogy or the explanation as to, would you rather be shackled and enslaved to many masters, or the one that created you, the one and only that created you? Because human beings have a perception of freedom when in reality you would not have worn that hat unless it was fashionable. If everyone mocked you for wearing the hat because it was something out of a top hat, let's say in the 18th century or 17th century with your cane, right, and your top hat, you would not have worn it. Why? Because as much as you don't care about what people think, you do.
Absolutely, all humans.
We all do. So we are shackled to a multitude of masters, whether we know it or we don't. Even our perception of freedom in reality is that we are shackled to all those masters. Because we care about what people think, we care about what we say, how people perceive us, okay? And so what Allah says is, don't shackle you to the opinions of these people, telling you what's right and wrong, what's lawful and unlawful, what's just and unjust, what's fair and unfair, what is good and bad. Shackle yourself to me, because I created you and I know you better than all of those people know you. And I will guide you to the truth better than all of those people will guide you. The Quran is very explicit. Allah knows the nature of man. He thinks he's free. Have you got the verse there?
Yeah, hold on.
I haven't got my glasses, so you'll have to read it. What chapter, what verse? Can I read it?
I think it's this one. This one here.
I
don't know, can you read it?
Just about. So this is chapter 39, verse 30, I believe. Is that right?
So 39, 29.
29, okay. In the clear Quran, this is the translator, okay? Allah sets forth the parable of a slave owned by several quarrelsome masters, okay? And a slave owned by only one master. Are they equal in condition? Praise be to Allah. In fact, most of them do not know. So it's a beautiful, beautiful parable there. That if you truly want to be free, shackle yourself, enslave yourself to the one that created you, because he knows you better than you know yourself. And so the pressures that society might give me as a Muslim, oh, you're backward, you grow this beard, or you pray 5 times a day, you fast in a month. Why would you want to get hungry? I don't care what they say. I fast because Allah says to me that this is better. If only you knew, Allah says in the Quran, when He explains the fasting and He gives us the excuses why not to fast. So if you're ill or if you're traveling, you don't have to fast. You can miss your fast, make up for it afterwards. But then Allah explains, even though He gives you the excuses, He says, but if you knew, you would fast. You wouldn't make excuses. If only you knew. So you shackle yourself to the Creator. But we're all shackled. This concept of I'm free, I do what I want. No, you don't.
No, we don't.
We don't.
But the idea of being shackled to your Creator, you're still shackled to something. Your freedom is still restricted in the very nature of being shackled.
Yes.
Yet if you become very conscious of yourself and to all your masters that you're shackled with,
yes,
slowly one by one you can release those shackles.
Yes.
Like for me, I like this hat.
Yes.
Yeah. Most of society likes the hat.
Yes.
Right. But I'm conscious of it. I'm conscious that it looks good, but I choose to be shackled to that type of fashion.
I agree.
Through my choice.
I agree.
Yeah. Same as some of the things that I might do, like coffee.
Yes.
Yeah. I can give up coffee,
yes,
or I can take coffee,
yes,
as opposed to alcohol. Yes. I can choose between them. So I choose to be shackled to that because I've become conscious,
yes,
to show that I can give it away,
yes,
or I can bring it into my life.
Yes. Now the point here is this, though, right? What benefits you from being shackled to those people or society or the laws or the culture or whatever else it might be, here and in the afterlife? Afterlife, I would say pretty much nothing. And here, I would say it's purely subjective. And in fact, many of those influences could be negative impacts on your life. So for example, I'll give you an example. Culturally, in England, probably in Australia as well, I know you guys like your Fosters, right? From the cradle to the grave, from the christening to the funeral, there's alcohol.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Culturally accepted, completely woven into society. Now, you're shackled with that because that's how things are, right? And that's how you've done them. But what does Allah tell you? Allah says, look, if you shackle yourself to me, I tell you in chapter 2 that in both gambling and intoxicants is all drugs, including alcohol, the harms outstrip the benefits. That's why I've made it forbidden for you.
But it doesn't include the shisha.
Well, the scholars say that if you smoke shisha with tobacco, knowing that it causes you cancer and causes you problems, then there is a ruling that some would say it's haram, forbidden. Knowingly to cause yourself harm, you're not allowed to do it in Islam. Some people would say that it's undesirable or strongly undesirable, but there is quite a major ruling as well that says that it's haram, forbidden, if it's tobacco. So if it's some sort of scent that can't harm you, then it would be a situation that would be down to the individual. And now, the point I'm making to you is this, that being shackled has consequences. Because what are you being shackled to when you're being shackled to the Creator? When you enslave yourself to the Creator, what are you actually doing? Is it detrimental or beneficial? That's the point, right? Because if it's detrimental, i.e. gives you health problems, causes you problems in your life, if it increases suicide, stress.
It's interesting, it does increase suicide.
No, actually the study shows the exact opposite.
Being shackled to the Creator increases suicide when people take it to the extreme.
It's exact opposite. When you have social experiments.
Protective. So if I'm speaking to someone who's
brother, this is brother Imran.
I heard your conversation.
You heard the conversation. Hamza, we're all part of one group. We're all part of one group.
What group is that?
EFDawah. So we all come down normally as a group. We didn't come down last week, I think, when you were here, or the weekend before. But brother Dr. Imran is part of the group.
Hamza had me covered.
Hamza had you covered. If you see people who are suicidal, when I'm questioning them to see how severe this is, a protective factor that I would consider something to protect them from that is a belief in a hereafter.
Sorry.
Imran,
speak louder, but people are yelling behind me.
As a protective factor, one of the protective factors is if they have a belief in a hereafter, a consequence of their life or death. So people who they don't believe that this life is it doesn't matter if I live or die, they're the ones who are at more risk. So if someone says, you know what, I've got accountability after I die, they're the ones. So the other factors as well, like family, what will my mum think, children, these things. But religiosity is a protective factor against suicide. And that's just one of the basic things.
Not only that, brother, but part of Dr. Imran's strategy of getting somebody out of depression is giving them a list or encouraging them to, maybe you can explain exactly what you do, of what things they are grateful for.
So that's mindfulness. I don't know if you heard of mindfulness.
Mate, it's the greatest thing in my life.
Yeah.
So I've been practicing gratitude for 10 years.
Right.
So the
every single morning I wake up, Dr. Imran. Nearly every 6 out of 7 mornings, my first thought is I'm so grateful.
Absolutely.
And I'll start thinking, I'm grateful for my new apartment, I'm grateful for the sun outside, I'm grateful for this beautiful person that's in bed next to me. And gratitude just shows up during my day.
Yes, absolutely.
So even in our conversation before, I was thinking, I'm grateful I'm having an intelligent conversation with someone just doesn't want to argue their view without listening. Right, so gratitude, mindfulness, meditation is in my life every single day.
So the question that I usually ask, not when I'm working, but outside of that, is who are you grateful to? Because gratitude is something that is, so people either make it general, like the universe, which is sort of anthropomorphizing nature, or you have to ask the question, who is it? Because gratitude is a relational thing. You can't be just grateful in the air abstractly. It has to be between. You give gratitude. It's something that's relational.
I disagree. You don't have to give the gratitude to someone.
Then who are you grateful to?
You can be both. So I can be both grateful to a creator, for which I can't put my finger on exactly what that is, but I can also just be grateful without it being towards something.
So the question
just grateful for it being and being in my life.
Yeah, no, I get that. But the issue that I have with this type of thinking is you're misunderstanding what gratitude is. You can say I'm lucky that I'm not born to an African mother who's suffering and I would have died before the age of 5. I'm lucky that I'm born in a Western country with these sort of affluent society around me that I can look after myself. You can be grateful for all these things, but this is disjointed. You're taking it away from what it's meant. So gratitude is what? If you look at all the synonyms of gratitude, thankfulness, gratefulness, these are all.
But also, I'd like to add to that as well. Say Dr. Imran saved your life. You were dying on the street. He jumped there, artificial, resuscitation, all his techniques, and you've come back to life. I'm walking past. You come back to life, and you grab me and you start thanking me. Would that be fair?
Yes, because you taught him how to save my life.
No, would that be fair?
It would seem disjointed to give the praise to you.
This guy saves your life.
Of course it would seem disjointed to give the praise to you when he's the one that's
So now when Allah created you, every breath that you take, every heartbeat that beats in your chest is from the Creator. And you're not thanking Him? And your thanks and your gratitude is directed to something else other than the Creator? How is that just?
It's not just. It doesn't make sense. If Allah is truly the Creator, and you're Allah, and whoever my Creator, they might be the same person.
Exactly.
You just believe, you just have a way to reach Him that may be different to me.
So what's important then is to find out, evaluate and calculate and rationalize whether the goodness that you have in your life is just some random event or indeed has come from the Creator. One of the very interesting things the Quran says... Let me just say one thing. The Quran, when Allah created Adam, Allah explains in the Quran, and the angels say, will thou create a being that will spread mischief and spill blood on earth? And Allah informs the angels, you do not know that which I know. And He teaches the nature of things to Adam. And He questions Adam, and Adam then gives the explanation of the nature. Then God corrects the angels, did I not tell you that you don't know what I know? When Satan is told to submit to Adam, to bow to Adam, not bowing of worship, but just bowing through the order of the Creator, he refuses. He said, I'm made of fire and he's made of clay, earth. I am superior to him. So Allah says, you are disgraced. He says, give me respite till the day of judgment, till the hour. Allah says, respite is granted. He says, and I will approach them from their left and their right, from in front and from behind, and you will find very few of them grateful. So gratitude was linked to the very essence of creation and the very essence of disbelief from when Adam was created. And what did this shaitan say? Satan said, you will find very few of them grateful. And humanity today, any hardship that, why me? Why is my life?
Woe is me.
Why always me?
Blame.
Or they have gratitude, but they don't direct it to the Creator. So we feel that this is something that is inspired by Satan to humanity. Now, can we ever be truly grateful of the Creator? We can't. Because when Allah talks about Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Abraham in the Quran, who Allah mentions as Khalilullah, the friend of Allah. When He explains the nature of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah says, and he was grateful for some of the things that we gave him. Because absolute gratitude cannot be achieved. We can only attempt.
There's always more you can be grateful for.
We can only attempt. So as Dr. Zimran's explanation to you was, that gratitude, when we think about gratitude, who the gratitude is focused towards is very important. Because if your gratitude when He saved your life is in fact for me, everybody, including yourself, once you realize, would think, well, that was a bit unfair, wasn't it? He saved his life. I'm going to be grateful to him. So in Islam, what we say to you is, yes, shackle yourself, be grateful to the correct focus of where it should be, which is the one that gave you the things that you have. The life that you have, the parents that you have, the eyes that you have. Be grateful for those things.
Compliment.
Yeah, you've got beautiful
I'll take it.
Beautiful eyes. I wish I had blue eyes, you know. Someone for the short.
And that's one of the things I'm grateful for the most out of everything.
You know? And in fact, on the Day of Judgment, what does Allah say? All of your good deeds will be placed on one side of the scale. And we shall just put your eyesight on the other side of the scale. And the eyesight will be more than all of the goodness, all of the prayers, and everything you have done. So there's a lot to be grateful for. So we only enter Jannah, paradise, through the mercy of the Creator, not from our good deeds, not from being grateful. We just make the motion to do those things, but we enter paradise through the mercy of Allah, because we can't pay Allah back just for the sight that He has given us. So ultimate gratitude is to submit to the one that created you and show gratitude to the one that created you and gave you those wonders that you have, including your eyes.
It makes sense if that's who you believe, and you believe He's the ultimate creator. That point makes sense, and it's an interesting thought. I'd never thought about the intent of my gratitude and where it was intended towards, but I do believe it can be intended towards. It doesn't have to be towards just the Creator. I believe it can be towards the Creator, but it can be to other people. It can be to the earth. You can just be grateful for being grateful. Yes. It doesn't have to be a direction towards something.
No, you can be. You're right. You can be.
Can I just give one example?
Yeah, please do. Sorry.
You know, there's the second verse of the Quran. Most of the chapters of the Quran, they start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful.
Whisper. What did you say?
Bismillah ar-Rahman.
In Arabic,
this is Arabic.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All of the chapters bar one starts with this verse.
The second verse that you find in the Quran is all praise belongs to God. So this is the first chapter of the Quran. It's only 7 verses.
I know you're a softly-spoken man.
You come on.
It's okay. So the first chapter of the Quran, it's only 7 verses, yeah, and it lays out our relationship with the Creator. Basically, if you want a fundamental, how does Islam work? The first chapter of the Quran gives you this in a nutshell. So the first part is all praise belongs to God. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, He is the Lord of all the worlds. So this world, any other world you can think of, He is the one who is Lord of them. Okay? So this is our fundamental relationship. He is the one who is the most merciful and the specifically merciful. This is what goes on. So generally merciful. So all the things that you have in your life, despite not worshipping Him, your family, your health, your wealth, everything that you're grateful for, generally grateful, it comes from Him. This is mercy from Him. And then specifically what is in your life. So if you're someone who is worshipping the Creator and He gives you a special type of specific mercy, that comes from Him as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And it says, you alone we worship and you alone we ask for help. So this is one of the really important things. So He's the one who is our object of worship. Allah, the God. Yeah.
So like during the week I was thinking, and I know that there's pillars in Islam, yeah?
Yeah.
So there's prayer 5 times a day. There's going to Mecca, one of them.
If you have the means or you have the health.
Yeah, and the other pillars are
zakat, which is charity, fasting.
Charity.
Yeah, so the first one is iman, which is the belief in the oneness of God Almighty, without attributing any partners to God.
Which is the praying part, is it?
No, this is the iman, the article of faith. The shahada, which is the foundational concept of what we believe, which is that there is one God without partners. Then there's the salah, which is the prayer 5 times a day. And then we have zakat, which is the fasting. And then we have zakat, which is charity. And then the final one is the hajj, which is the going to Mecca once in your lifetime. If you have the means and the health, then you should go once in your lifetime. If you don't have...
And the other two? The last two? 7 is there?
These are the 5 articles of the...
So to think about them, to think about charity, with or without Islam, charity is a great thing. And the greatest gift in life is the gift of giving, right? So that just makes sense. That's just a no-brainer. So charity, it's fantastic. It's going to make you feel good. You're going to be buzzing off charity. So you speak about 5 times prayer per day, The act of spending time with yourself, right? Whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's towards whatever your God may be, the act of doing that 5 times a day is good. It's great in itself, right? So that part, whether you're a Muslim or not, is going to create an incredible sense.
Spiritual awakening.
It's going to help your mind. It's going to bring your mind into theta waves. It's a positive thing.
Yeah.
The act of traveling, right? any travel is good for the soul. It's good for the human. It makes sense. That part makes sense. Whether you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim, traveling is a good thing. The other one was two more.
The Hajj, the going to the pilgrimage.
Yeah, traveling.
Yeah.
Well,
You've covered everything. Fasting.
Fasting. There's so many studies that prove that fasting is a good thing for the human body. I've done 48-hour fasts, 24-hour fasts myself. It's hard, but after a few hours, you get to a point where it's like you're on drugs.
Yeah.
Right? So these people during Ramadan, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's not so much that they're connected to their creator, it's the fasting that's created that feeling within them. So it makes sense to me that so many people embrace Islam and these 5 pillars, and they start to buzz and they feel amazing. But with or without Islam, doing those things will create that same feeling.
There's a fundamental difference. Yeah. And the fundamental. So I'm assuming you're coming from an atheist background.
No,
and what background are you coming from?
I'm coming from someone that believes that I'm a powerful creator myself, and I decode the world. I can put intent and thought towards goals.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can have a higher likelihood of increasing the opportunity for them to happen. I believe we live in a sea of potential. I believe there's a creator, for which I don't know him, or him or her, or what that is.
Okay.
I believe to be good to other humans, and I believe that if I've got more good in my life than bad, ultimately heaven, whatever's there, that's where I'm going. I'll go to an amazing place.
Before we go to that explanation, you mentioned something very important, and you said doing those things makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
Right. You're right. There is
with or without Islam.
Okay, but the point now is this: that feeling good about doing something, like fasting, for example, you will have a different sense of what that feeling is to what I would have.
Yes.
So there would be a physical feeling, you're right, a health benefit, let's say for argument's sake, or clearing one's mind or whatever. But when I open my fast and I say those prayers, or when the hunger pangs strike me and I see food, and I deny the food not for the sake of health, or the sake of, I mustn't do it because I'm fasting, but because Allah will be pleased with me as a consequence. What that does then, it connects you to the Creator, and it reinforces that connection with the Creator. So even now when I'm not fasting, when another wrong comes my way, and I know that, for example, I'm married, this woman, I shouldn't be with her because this is haram. I'm conscious of my Creator more because during the month of Ramadan, I enhance that connection with the Creator. I forbade those things.
You built your self-control.
You build your self-control, right? So this is why the ulama, the scholars say that the person who leaves the month of Ramadan, if he hasn't changed at the end of Ramadan, then it may be that he hasn't achieved very much in Ramadan. In other words, it's not just a physical change or a feeling good, but your connection with the Creator has to have been enhanced as a consequence of following those teachings. And if they have, then you have truly embraced the essence of what fasting is. You understand my point? So after Ramadan, there might be something that you might have ordinarily approached. So you'll find many people who give up smoking after Ramadan. Because during Ramadan, they say, you know what? First of all, there's a question mark. Is it halal? Is it not halal? Is it forbidden or whatever? So I'll just leave it. Then they say, maybe after my fast, I'll have a couple. And then they say, no, because in the prayer, we're told that you should smell nice. Don't have foul smells coming from your mouth. Brush your teeth. Be clean. So maybe I won't do it in the prayer either. So they leave it for the month. Then after the month ends, some people say, well, you know what? I've left it for a month. Maybe I can do this. I'll leave it. And many people give up. So the month of Ramadan is a multifaceted benefit. Yes, there are health benefits, but there are spiritual benefits. There is a training. And even in psychology, you learn that when you train yourself to do something repetitively, you become better at it.
Absolutely.
Yes?
So, but is it without Islam, if you follow the same month of Ramadan without a religious focus or a belief in the Creator, you'll get the same benefits of self-control.
But our life is not in this world. We have
Pardon?
afterlife.
This is a later point. Yeah. You're talking these. So the point you're making, it goes back to your beginning point of you feel free. I think I heard you say that I have this great sense of freedom, and even then I was thinking, well, where do you get this sense of freedom from? And it comes down to I can choose to have my coffee or not. And essentially, what you're describing is I can follow my desires, and you feel this is a freedom.
I can.
You can. Yeah. And for you, this comes across as I am free. But the reality is you are enslaved to your desires. Because why? If I feel it, if it's good, what you determine as good, I'm going to do it. And this is my sense of freedom. Now, if you have another individual, let's just give an example now, another individual who has a similar sense of freedom, I can do what I like. But what he feels he would like to do is what you would say is detrimental, hurting someone, killing someone, whatever that might be. But he gets the same sense of, following my desires and doing as I wish. And it even gives him a feeling of ecstasy. I'm connected to whatever he's connected to.
Say a serial killer.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
someone
absolutely.
like this. Now, how are you going to, with your paradigm, your framework, and the way you look at the world, tell this individual this is right or wrong? How are you going to? What's your barometer of measurement?
What's my yardstick?
How are you going to work that out? So I would ask that question to you. How would you? So I would say that your sense of freedom is simply your capitulation. You're giving into your desires. I'm following my desires and I'm free. I would say that
I'm not following my desires. I choose my desires.
yeah, absolutely. But where do your desires come from?
Through my lifetime of experience.
Absolutely.
Through my upbringing, through the people I know, what I see,
social
Western media,
yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
Like
So
my desires come from a lot of places.
If you were somewhere else, say if you were born in Africa, your desires would be different.
Absolutely.
If you were born in India, your desires would be different. If you were Eskimo, your desires would be different. So even your desires are arbitrary. Where do they come from? Social consensus. You find what you enjoy, what you think the society has taught you to enjoy.
Social consensus and through my own experience.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But your experience is of the society. So even your experience of what I enjoy has come via the society. Rugby or Australian football. In another place it will be soccer.
I wouldn't want to play next to him.
No. In another place it will be another sport.
I would avoid. I'd just let you do the
There
goal.
where you are, coffee in another place. We drink spring water from the mountains. Now these are all arbitrary. Completely. Now the question then comes: why is your arbitrary desires that you feel give you freedom? Why do they hold any value or any? Why should we give them any weight compared to someone else's? Now, if you're doing this from your own self, I am. Because you said something. I am. It's almost like a law of attraction.
Creator,
almost like a law of attraction type of scenario. Why can that not be the same for someone else who's doing what you would deem as bad? So, for example, if there is a serial killer, and he gets the same feelings that you're getting from enjoying yourself and following your freedoms, your desires, but for him, there's something in there that we would say is wrong. We have a different way of saying it's wrong. You would say it's wrong as well. The question is, how are you going to say to that individual, this is not right, you shouldn't be doing this? He says, well, I get this ecstasy, I get this connection, I think of these things and I want these things, they come to me.
You think that's wrong, I think that's wrong.
Yeah,
It just makes sense that it's wrong. But it makes sense to us, it's not going to make sense to him.
Yeah.
Right, so I can't argue that point.
So this is the difference now. This is where I was saying this is the problem now. So for me, when I see you, I see a great individual shackled to his desires. You're completely enslaved, and there is no escaping being shackled.
Absolutely,
you cannot escape it.
Absolutely,
we follow the roads of the laws of the road. We follow the laws of the land. We can be imprisoned from them. We eat because we have to. We drink because we have to. These are just physical laws that we're bound to. We have to breathe. We have to have water. We're shackled. I can't fly.
But you speak about the yardstick, the yardstick that Muslims follow, which is the Quran essentially, and the Hadith. That's that yardstick. Where you can't let that yardstick go.
So there's another.
You can never let that go.
Sure.
Once you choose Islam. You can never ever let that go. Where I can choose what my yardstick is, and that yardstick can change for me.
But brother, the question here is
there's a fundamental. So I'm just trying to.
Chain of thought. Sorry.
So this approach of I can change my yardstick. What is that? What are you actually saying to me?
Well, through my life experience, I can upgrade what's right and what's wrong in my world through my life experience and through the people around me. Depends on the countries I go to. You know, like I can upgrade and improve. But this yardstick will always limit you with Islam, or may always limit you with Islam, because it can never move. It is what it is. The Quran is written, and so many people remember it. It cannot be changed.
Yeah.
Right? Yet society can change so dramatically, yet this yardstick just stays firm, solid, even with its flaws.
Yeah.
Right? And as a Muslim, you know it has its flaws.
So I would disagree.
No, I would disagree as well.
What I want to say, so a couple of things. I just want to iron out a few points. So it's really great.
I've got a big smile over here.
So it's really great because what you've said is I can update what is right and wrong. Yeah. Now for me that's a
upgrade.
Upgrade. For me that's a
Thank
big.
you, brother.
It's a big. It's
Not
a big.
for me, I've had too much.
This is a big. I think that's a big drawback because what you're saying, there was something that used to be wrong that I can now make right. And there was something that was right, and now I'll look back on it and say that was wrong. Now, what's the drawback with that is that you can make things that definitely shouldn't happen, you can make them okay. So your paradigm of what is right and wrong is circumstantial.
Yes.
If your circumstances change, what's right and wrong can change.
Absolutely.
So I'll give an example, and I'll give an extreme example. I know this is an extreme example, so I apologise here, but I'm going to give an extreme example. There was a circumstance in the 1930s and 40s in Germany when it was okay, I'm not saying it was okay, I'm just saying it was okay, to annihilate 6 million people. Now that was whatever happened within that society to allow that to happen. There was something within that society that made this okay, and it happened. And we know that 6 million Jews were killed, right? Now, this is the problem when you make society, because that's really what you're working on. As society changes, my sense of right and wrong can change. If you make society your arbiter of right and wrong, then you're not only shackled now to your desires, you're shackled to the whims of the society. So literally you're like a leaf being blown around by the wind, because the societies can change. Another example, controversial one, 50 years ago, you were getting treatment for homosexuality. And then it became okay, and now it's actively norm within the society. What's your view of that? It would have changed depending on what you lived through in that society. Anything else? Capital punishment. It was allowed before. It was, in fact, a positive thing. When people do certain acts, murder, you could have them capital punishment. Many countries still do this. But that's changed now in our societies here in the West, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere. We say no, capital punishment is a negative thing. The point is, when are you going to make it? Where is the arbiter comes in? Where is your stick? Now, I would say that what you need, if I was living in Nazi Germany, what would I need to be able? What do I need to determine that what the society is saying to me is wrong? And I'll give one condition for that thing. It has to be outside of that society. That's all I'd say about it. It can't be from within. Why? Because the society is it's making the mistake. It's taking us down that dark path of killing 6 million people.
Yeah, which is horrendous.
So I have to have an extra societal, something outside of the society, barometer that tells me this is the limit I've set for you. Don't go beyond this limit. So now if the whole of the society here decided that we're going to kill all the Jews, I have to stand and say, no, this is wrong. But why are we, these people are, like, look at the Uyghurs in China. 3 million people in prison, education camps, torture, organ being removed and sold, lots of horrible things happening. In that situation, I know this is not allowed. Why? Because I have a barometer outside of a society that tells me that this is wrong.
It just makes sense that the sense is not right.
Come on.
It just makes sense.
And brother,
what did you say?
Sorry. I thought he was about to tell me something.
Oh, and so you gave an example of that. So
tell me about your sense. You said it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
So tell that. How would you tell the guy with the serial killer? how are you going to tell him that this isn't right what you're doing? You shouldn't be killing people randomly and burying them.
He's killing other people is the wrong thing.
But he doesn't feel that. He says,
how will I ever get through to him?
So he's saying to you, look, I'm a creator internally. I can, I look around the world and I can choose what I think is right. And I've been watching all of these things.
I don't know how I'll tell him, but there's plenty of intelligent people that can find a way to try and tell him that. And together, good, intelligent people that have come together and worked out a consensus of what's the best thing, I believe can tell him.
Okay.
Yeah?
So if
but to go back to, you said this is a yardstick with Islam, right? And you've got these rules outside of society that don't change. Yeah. Yet, how have they changed in Islam from when Muhammad was alive, right? And his wife Aisha was however old. I know this is a common people just yell at Muslims to cause offence. Yeah. Yet now most people in Islam believe that you can't wed a young woman.
Yeah, you're right.
Most people believe that.
There's a reason for that. There's a
right,
reason.
We'll come to that.
So the yardstick has changed for you Muslims because now what?
Let him finish the question. Finish your question. Yeah, it's not. We can come to it.
So now it isn't right because you believe the laws of the land have changed, have upgraded, and you can't just have a very young wife in the Western world in Islam.
So let's approach this.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Your explanation is a lot better than mine anyway.
So I would say the yardstick hasn't changed.
The what, sorry?
The yardstick hasn't changed, and I'll explain why that is. So just to finish off the previous example, because we have this yardstick that's outside of society, we can look at people within society and we can say that what you're doing is wrong, not because I think it, not because the consensus thinks it, because there was a consensus when it was okay to kill 6 million Jews. We don't take that. There is something beyond us that has given us this limit, and we don't cross this limit. And that's so that we can then, and this is where the law would come from in terms of how you conduct yourself on the earth.
Sharia.
Absolutely. Now, the question then comes, okay, what about this example of wedding a 9-year-old in the 7th century, and, has the law changed? So the question is, what were the criteria that were being used at that time for this marriage to take place? Because then what you'd have to say is the criteria have changed.
So I'm just uncomfortable by how this guy's...
he's being a little bit noisy.
You know him?
And a bit rough, actually, and I think he needs to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, is that guy right? Is he right?
Some of them is right, but he doesn't say it in a...
Yeah, but you've got to say it in a nice way. You've got to have a nice conversation. Sorry, what was your...
Yes, sorry.
So what I was saying, actually someone should make a Josh.
Yeah, I think just to calm the brother down.
The point is, your point is saying, for example, the law for the age, marrying age, is different from different land. For UK.
No. You're missing the point.
So it's about the yardstick. The yardstick. Now, the criteria. What the question was? What were the criteria being applied?
And get the umbrellas.
What were the criteria being applied at that time? There were 2, and none of them have changed. Now, if you look at...
and what were those 2 criteria?
I'll explain those in 1 second. If you look at, in the 1800s in the UK, you could marry someone under the age of 7 and you could consecrate your marriage with them, no problem, it was legal. It was absolutely fine. So this idea of marrying young was something that historically has always been the case. Now the question is, what criteria was Islam applying? So there are 2 criteria. One is he's a bit aggressive, isn't he? So one is biological readiness, and the sorry, all right.
Biological readiness.
Biological readiness. So that's always been
having a period, being capable.
So that's there's a range of that.
Yep.
Now, and the range starts from anything before. If you're 8 and younger, we would say this is precocious puberty. So this is puberty before its time. So 9 and onwards is normal puberty. So for example, if a girl came into A&E, accident emergency, with abdominal pain, one of the things we would test to make sure the causes behind this were known, we do a pregnancy test. It's normal, one of the things that you would do. The second criteria is societal readiness. Now, societal readiness is
social dynamics,
mature.
Basically.
Does the society believe that this person is now eligible, ready for marriage? So the biological readiness that always varies depending on where you are. If you're in a hotter climate, if you have greater access to calories, the puberty tends to come earlier. If you're in a colder environment, so the northern hemisphere, it tends to come later. This is just biology. The societal readiness can vary. So in the time when, there wasn't schools, there weren't these things, people were becoming ready to act within the society, to do the things they were meant to do, to look after household, etc., from a very early age.
Yes,
and what we find is that has changed. So now we get people in their 30s who can't look after themselves.
So then, like, by that point, societal readiness in some parts of the Middle East is going to regress. It's going to go backwards now, and maybe in Afghanistan, maybe under Taliban rule, it might go back. So society believes that it's fine younger.
So when the first people,
and that is okay by Islam. That is okay by you because it fits those pillars of those two that you spoke about.
So what the first point is that what it explains first of all is that as the societies have become more technical, there's been formal schooling, we've delayed societal maturity more and more. In fact, some of the first people this is in the 1800s to say that the age of consent, the age of marriage should be 18 and above were Muslims, amongst the Muslim scholars, the Hanbali scholars, if I remember rightly, and they were saying that this is just a change of the society. Just to go back to the actual event, so the Prophet peace be upon him, the marriage was arranged, and then there was a waiting period of 3 years. That's before the marriage was then consummated. So the question is, why was there a waiting period? What was that for? Because there's a good reason for this, and that was they were waiting for those two criteria to be met. Now they could have happened at any time. Puberty could have been 12, 13, 14, 15, it could have been any time. No one had any control over that. And the societal readiness is whenever that event happens, the parents would say, okay, our daughter's now ready, please consummate the marriage and carry on as you are. And in fact, they waited until that had happened, and the parents came to the Prophet peace be upon him and they said to him, look, why are you not coming and taking your wife? Because according to that society, it was okay. Now, in this society,
people only lived to 40, so they had to marry younger. They had to
28.
Keep kids.
So I think in the Middle East, the average age was around 28. In the Western Hemisphere, if you look at the times when, the lowest life expectancy, again, you're talking about high 20s, low 30s. So now the point here is, you could potentially, and remember, there was a lot of people who died very early as well. So if you had a bladder infection, for example, in the 10th century or something, you could be dead within 3 months, right? You could be 15, you could be 12, right? So the point here is, as Imran explained, that we're talking about a different time, and there's a very interesting way of looking at this. It's called the fallacy of presentism. So we look at circumstances of today, and we apply them retrospectively onto the 7th century to make a judgment.
Yeah, it's like what they do in Australia with the Aboriginals.
Right.
It's a fallacy. It's like looking through today's morals.
So the point is, Imran's point is very valid, and this is what the Islamic view is, which is that the ruling for when a person is ready for marriage hasn't changed. And that is precisely why life expectancy, education level, maturity, commitment, the age of puberty, all of those dynamics have changed. And so the scholars now say it has to be much older.
So the framework hasn't changed. Now, so for example, there was a time when there was famine. In the time, I think it was Umar, in the time of his time, there was famine.
That's right.
So he suspended some of the laws
Hadud punishment for stealing.
Because he said that the way that the situation in the society is at the moment, application of this law is not correct, because that's not the spirit of the law. So it's not this idea of a rigidness. So we have sort of fundamental foundations that don't change. There's a framework that the scholars work within to apply to a situation. So if I went to, for example, there was a brother who was Christian background, he became Muslim, and he asked the question, look, if I go to my parents' home, they're going to give me Christmas pudding. It's got alcohol in it. Can I sit with if I don't have this, my family will cause a big problem. There will be fight, argument. And what should I do? So we spoke to a scholar. We said, okay, to the scholar, okay, what would this individual, not a general ruling, but this individual in circumstance, what would happen to this person? We know alcohol is not allowed. So what the scholar told, this is the I'm just relaying the information. So what he said was, look, how much of this does he have to eat to become drunk? You couldn't eat enough of these you'd be full before you were drunk. Yeah? So then he applied the principle that what doesn't intoxicate in a large amount cannot intoxicate in a small amount. And he said for that individual, just for that individual, in his personal circumstance, it's better for him to have cohesion in his family, and so for him he can.
No, the hadith is that what is
not hadith. That was what the scholar said.
Oh, what the scholar said.
So he said for that individual, he can sit with his family for that sake of the cohesion. He can have this. So this was applying. So it's not this rigid sort of thing. It's actually much more nuanced than that. And now case law in the West, you have statute law, and then you have cases.
You have
and then
absolutely.
And so the cases will adjust the statute. You can adjust your.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
So that system came from Islam.
Where it doesn't make sense, and where I see as one of the biggest failings of Islam, and it fails Islam to the West, it fails every single Muslim, is that the fundamentals don't change, right? So the more educated you are, you can look at the fundamentals and then choose a higher road. Whereas the people that are less educated and know less take the fundamentals, because it's like the lowest common denominator. They take that as, okay, I can operate to that level. So as society goes backwards in certain parts of the world, they'll take the rule of the Quran and the lowest common denominator, which might be an 8-year-old, whatever it might be, as something that's okay.
But we have a principle in Islam that if you don't know, the Quran says this, go to the people who know, the people of knowledge.
But if they don't know people that are of knowledge, and they're people of knowledge,
but then you're making you're making, really, to be fair, you're making so many assumptions that in reality, as I said to you, you will be judged by your actions based upon your intentions. So if you now willfully are ignorant, this is not an excuse in Islam. This is a ruling in Islam. So you can't willfully remain ignorant and do something that's wrong and then claim, I didn't know. No.
It's pretty hard to be willfully ignorant in this world.
Exactly. So you have to pursue the people of knowledge. And sometimes, there would have been stories where people would have traveled many hundreds of miles, thousands of miles to get a particular ruling because it's important. Now, if you're the sort of individual who's very laissez-faire and carefree, then you'll be judged accordingly. You see? So the chance today of it going back to, somebody getting married at 9 years is incredibly unlikely unless all of those circumstances that were there in the 7th century somehow manifest themselves in the 21st century.
There's an even deeper question now.
Sure. No, please go ahead.
If you found a society in the Amazon today, forget all religion, this is just a society
North Sentinel Island.
Okay, and they marry their girls as soon as they hit puberty because that's in their society. With your worldview, your paradigm, how are you going to tell them that they're wrong?
I'm going to stay away because they're going to murder me.
Well, that's one thing.
But how would you tell them? Are you going to say, look, guys...
There's nothing that I could say to them to change their mind.
And this is where that barometer comes in. So in our conversation, what I'm seeing is, individually you're a great guy. You have your mindset right. You have your mindset right. You're thinking of the greater good, not for yourself, for other people.
You're definitely a thinker.
You're grateful. I would say that this gratefulness you're giving to the Creator without realizing that this is what you're doing. And I can see the sincerity within you. You're trying to be a good human being in the earth. Yeah. One of the things that's missing for you is this idea of we need to come to this idea of God and establishing either the existence, if you don't believe that, you're not sure about that, or why Islam compared to anything else. That's something that we have to discuss. But the thing that you have is the greatness that you've achieved within your own personal life isn't something that you can give to anyone else because it's completely personal. And that serial killer, he can say, I have as much claim to my individual choices that I make, and I have as much validity in what I do as you do. And you're not in a position to say to him, actually, bro, this isn't right, and these are the reasons. All you can say is, look, I feel...
I am, but he might not listen.
He might not listen, because you're giving...
I can give that to him.
But even your reasons would be...
personal.
all your reasons would be either your personal inclinations, which you've already admitted are based upon social consensus and your own nurture and nature, right? And he can say, well, my experiences are different for your experiences, and my way of thinking, my society, actually, they think it's okay to decapitate people and offer them as a sacrifice or whatever it might be. So why am I wrong? And all you can say is, well, to me it feels wrong. Or to my people it feels wrong. That's all you can do.
Or to 99.99% of society.
Whatever it might be. But the point here is this. He could argue, why should I go with the social... If you're going to argue social consensus, then what about Nazi Germany? What about the indigenous Americans that was slaughtered in their millions? 90%. Because why? They were savages. They don't deserve to have the same land. We deserve it more than them. So we'll kill them. How are you going to say, as a matter of fact, with an absolute ruling, that what you're doing is 100% wrong? The only way you can do that is that the one that created you and sustained you tells you that as an absolute fact, this is forbidden. That is the only thing that you have. Everything else is but a whim and a desire.
So speaking about being free, something that, and you spoke about it briefly before. You spoke about homosexuals. Yeah. So where do I sit? And am I welcome in Islam? So today I felt free. The sun was out. Went down to the local pub.
Summer.
The sun was out.
English summer.
I went down to the local pub, and I had beautiful pork roast.
Yeah.
And this is not just to like.
No, of course not.
This is a genuine question. It's not to invoke hate.
Yeah.
I went down, had a beautiful Sunday roast pork, sat there with my boyfriend, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
Am I welcome in Islam?